Hi, everybody. Welcome back to Dave's Top 3,000 Songs of the Rock Era. Today I'm up to song number 2446, and that one is Pushin' Too Hard by The Seeds. This peaked on the charts in 1967. And here's a picture of the single, and it was also released on their debut album just called The Seeds. Here's a picture of the Seeds around that time. They were a garage band from Los Angeles. I'll get into them in a minute. First, I want to feature a sample of this song and react to it. So here it goes.
You're pushing too hard, or pushing on me. You're pushing too hard, or what you want me to be. You're pushing too hard about the things you say. You're pushing too hard every night and day. You're pushing too hard on me. All I want is to just be free, live my life the way I wanna be. All I want is to just have fun, live my life like it just begun. But you're pushing too hard on me.
Okay, that's the first minute of Pushing Too Hard by the Seeds. I think it's a good song. I mean, it's one of those garage band songs from around 66, 67. There were a lot of them around that time. A lot of garage bands, and a lot of them sounded kind of like this. And I mean, some people call this music 60s punk. I never liked that name because it doesn't sound anything to me like punk rock that was popular in the late 70s. Sounds a lot better. He has more tune. I mean, it sounds also sort of like a protest song. A lot of these garage band songs sounded like that. Most of them were, I guess, they were guys criticizing their girlfriends, saying that that they're not giving them enough leeway. They're not letting them live their own life, and that's what these guys are singing. All I want is to just be free and live his life the way he wants to, and not to have any conditions on what he needs to do. So I kind of understand that. I think that was a pretty common sentiment at that time. And, I guess that's pretty much everything I have to say about the song Pushing Too Hard. I like it. I mostly like the tune and I like the instruments they play on it. So anyway, now I'm going to talk about the band The Seeds. They were, I guess you could call them a one-hit wonder. They had one top 40 hit. They actually had four Billboard Hot 100 hits. One of them, another one, just almost made the top 40, didn't quite. One's number 41. But these guys, they were formed in Los Angeles, like a lot of other garage bands were. They were formed originally in 1965. They were together several times. The original run was from 65 to 69. And then they got back together shortly after. I guess they broke up and got back together in the year 1969. Stayed together a second time till 72. This time is Sky Saxon and the Seeds. I guess Sky Saxon was their front man and lead singer. And then they also got together briefly in 1989, 2003 to 2009, and 2017. And they're still together. I think they have all new members now, though. But the original members shown in this picture were Sky Saxon. He was the front man and the lead vocalist. Also, Jan Savage, who was the guitarist. Daryl Hopper, who played the keyboard. And Rick Andrich, who played the drums. So that was the Seeds. And now I'm just going to go through their hits. Like I said, they didn't have a lot of hits. Their first hit was the one I'm featuring today, Pushin' Too Hard, which peaked at number 36 early in 1967. That was far although I think all these songs were from 1967, by the way. Pretty big year in music, especially for psychedelic rock. And I think you could even maybe call these guys psychedelic. I mean, their album is still kind of psychedelic. Their second hit was called Mr. Farmer, which went to number 86. They followed that up with Can't Seem to Make You Mine, which went to 41. And finally, A Thousand Shadows, which went to number 72. So that was all the hits for the Seeds. Like I said, not a lot of hits. I think before I get off, maybe I should just say one more thing. I remember this must probably been about 40 years ago. I was kind of getting into 60s, rock and roll. I guess in the 80s when I was in college, I kind of discovered a lot of it then because I grew up. I was a teenager in the 70s, in the late 70s, and I listened to all the new music at that time. But I didn't know much about 60s music. But I started getting into it when I was in college, and I used to go to the record stores. I used to look at a lot of vintage records. And one day I stumbled across this album by the Seeds, and I think I looked at the back, and they had some weird poetry. I think it started like 6 sticks and 8 or 10, and I think they were trying to sound really profound, maybe like Donovan or something. But I just thought it was really weird what they wrote on there. It made no sense at all. And maybe that was the point. They were trying to write some nonsense poetry, but they wrote it on their album for some crazy reason. Um, One more thing I guess I should say is I think the Seeds were a lot more popular in Chicago than they were nationwide. I know that, for instance, the song Pushin' Too Hard went all the way number one in Chicago, at least according to the biggest rock station there, WLS. I'm not sure why it was such a huge hit in Chicago. Maybe garage rock was more popular there in the mid to late 60s than it was nationwide. But anyway, that completes my video for today. I'm pushing too hard by the seas. Here's a little psychedelic thank you. So thank you for watching. You guys rock, and I'll see you next time. Bye.